Welcome to the It's All Fine and Danjee podcast, where hosts Dan and Angie talk with creatives, small business owners, charities, and all kinds of interesting people. It's all real talk. It's all fine and Danjee.
The other way around too. You can have the quality and the chemistry, and like this is just too boring. I'm just not into it for me.
Yeah.
Right. No, I agree.
Yeah. But that's why podcasts are so popular, because there's something for everybody
That's
out
true.
there.
That's very true. And we'll fade in like this. We'll just fade in and as we have been sitting here chatting for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like right now. So we are super excited to have Denny Tornatore. Look, I've been saying this wrong this whole entire time. Tornatore is what we always say.
That's not wrong. That's not wrong. That's how you would say it in Italy. But
Okay.
I'm a New York Italian.
All
If
right.
you call the restaurant, most of the time the people answering will say Tornatores.
Okay.
And that's how I've been
Yeah.
telling everybody to go there. So
Yeah.
That's
I'm,
right.
I'm fine with it.
But we're going to get it right now. So Denny Tornatore.
Thank you.
And Maria Mancia.
Yeah.
Did I say it right?
Mancia.
Mancia.
Yes.
Yep.
Mancia.
So, if any of you listen, you know that name because it is one of our favorite restaurants here in Orlando, Tornatore's.
Thank you.
Ristorante, an Italian market, actually. And you guys are now co-owners?
Correct.
Partners.
Partners.
I love
Okay. And you also started a really cool foodie podcast, a new podcast that's out called Denny and Maria Eat the World. I love the title.
I do too. I love the title. I love the content. And I have to say, we're foodies. I know Angie has some questions about that, but
I do.
I feel like we're foodies. And the older I get, the more I'm a foodie, the more I appreciate the details of a meal and not the size of it necessarily or whatever. But what made you want to do the podcast? Like, where did that inspiration come from?
So I had a podcast when the whole COVID thing started. I have a friend who's a nurse, and we kind of started. And I really enjoyed the process, and I had all the equipment. And Denny is so entertaining. I was just thinking, you know what? I think we should just record a few. And it just became a thing. Like, we just enjoy
wow. It's a
match made in heaven.
ourselves.
We eat a lot. We go out to
We
dinner all the
do.
time.
Yeah.
We own a restaurant. So it was, we'd find ourselves the next morning talking about dinner last night.
Yeah.
We travel a lot. So then we decided to start documenting it. We've done so much traveling.
And
for
even
the
when
show.
we
much,
argue, it's entertaining to
And
most people.
Because it's gentle and kind-hearted, and you can tell you guys care about each other. It's nothing's mean.
Right.
But you just said, like, when you're sitting around chatting about the meal, that's what it feels like to listen. It feels like you're just kind of hanging out with you guys talking about the dinner we all had last night. That's what I love about it.
I know. But I wanted to ask, what is a foodie? Like, what makes a foodie? Because some people say they're foodies, and the places they're eating at, you're like,
Right.
no.
That's a really good question. And I think it's interesting because I consider myself a huge foodie since childhood.
Right.
Like I would bounce on the booths at a restaurant, like physically bounce. I was so excited. But I never had any interest in cooking.
Yeah.
Like zero interest in cooking.
Sure.
So I think that's kind of interesting that I'm a foodie who doesn't like to cook.
I'm kind of that way. Like, I'll grill a steak and make a handful of things, but the real delicious foodie food, I don't know how to make it. I don't really want to learn how to make. So I'm kind of with you. I just want to eat it and be able to pick the flavors out.
Yeah.
you know?
I like the
There's levels
science
of it.
behind it.
Yeah,
I like
there's
the
levels of
science.
foodie, I think. I'm the type that likes to cook and eat. So
Yeah.
He needs to cook.
I have, like
he
today,
loves
I'm
to
going to,
cook.
after this, I can't wait to go home. It's Sunday. It's Italian house. We're cooking the rest of the day.
That's the thing. It's a cultural thing. My buddy Joe is Italian, always cooking. I think some of us are like, oh, I don't want to cook. And he's like, I got to go home. I got to cook.
Yep. I'm going to put on some music. I'm going to open some wine. It's going to be like an intimate thing. It's going to be awesome. And then we're all going to sit down and enjoy.
Yeah, that's
Nice.
a very like cultural thing, though. It's kind of passed down generationally
Yeah.
for most people when it comes
I'm
to
trying
if you're
to get
cooking
my
or not
kids
cooking
to
in
do
the
it.
house.
And
Yeah.
my kids, I got to get them off the computer and say, get your asses down here and cook with me.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
exciting.
you got to keep the traditions alive,
Yeah, and sometimes with kids, you got to keep forcing them to do things just
Oh,
to
yeah.
get them out of their own little bubble, you
Yeah.
know, and experience those kind of hands-on things nowadays.
That's a good trait to teach them, because let's be honest, especially younger people, eating out all the time when you're younger doesn't mean all this really good food we're going to talk about. It means fast food and terrible stuff. So teaching them to cook at home instead is better for them anyway.
Right. And Denny has a 14-year-old and a 7-year-old. I've never changed a diaper. So children are very new to me.
Yeah.
I've never dated a guy with kids.
Sure.
So I grew up in Chicago where it was very diverse.
Sure.
And, my best friends were from India, from Turkey, from China. So I grew up eating all kinds
I
of
love
food.
it. So you're exposed to the culture.
And I didn't even think about it. It was just normal.
Yeah.
So when I met the girls, Izzy and Leah, they're amazing. They're super brilliant, great personalities. They're tough, but they eat maybe 3 things they eat.
Maybe 5.
5 things.
Maybe 5.
Yeah. So we're getting them to explore other things. Like the 14-year-old just had a salad for the first time ever.
Oh, introducing their palate to new
Yes.
things, which
It's
is
been
very
a
strange for them at first.
Yes. But it's fun. It's
Yeah.
fun.
It can be, I guess. I remember, I'm glad that it's fun for you, and that's the kind of...
Maria looks at it as an adventure.
It's a challenge.
That's what
She
you have
loves
to
a
do.
challenge.
So that's
Yeah,
great.
it is.
That's great synergy, because don't get me wrong, I love my kids, but I did not enjoy. I had one that would eat anything. I had one that was little and would walk by and grab a pepper that I was cutting up and start eating it like a snack. And I'm like, that kid is 4 and just ate a pepper.
So I have kind of the same experience as you. Whenever me and Dan started dating, I don't cook as much anymore because it's just me and him. And it's like, it's so much easier to just, stop
Empty
by your
nesters
place and
get
grab
to eat,
something or,
Sure.
And you share meals now, so,
Right.
but I'm very creative in the kitchen. So I like to buy all this exotic stuff and try new stuff. And I never write recipes down. So they'll be like, oh my gosh, you got to make that again. I'm like, well, never going to happen. Enjoy it. Never going to happen.
It's like
will not remember.
limited edition
It
meal.
is a limited edition meal. Enjoy the moment. That's what I say.
I love that.
But I tried to get them to try new things. They would ask, what's in this? I'm not telling you what's in it. Just taste it and see if you like it. You have to swallow the bite first. You have to chew it and enjoy and really think about it and not ask what's in it. Because if I said mushrooms, you're
going to automatically hate it. We're at that point where we're making them try it. Like, that's the rule right now. You have to try it. And if you don't like it, you don't have to have it.
But if you tell them it's like a mental thing,
they're automatically going to hate it.
Yeah.
But the 7-year-old, she will go to the bathroom for 20 minutes while we're eating at the table and we'll
She's
wait
like
for
pumping
her.
herself up.
Yeah. She'll
mirror.
come out and her eyes will be teary. And we'll say, it's just hamburger. It's just a hamburger. I don't like it. Okay, she'll take a little bite. And the second it touches her lips,
She's like,
she'll be like, she'll start heaving.
That's my other one. That
She'll
was
start heaving.
my other kid.
And then she'll start like vomiting at the table. And we have to be like, Leah.
It's like a fight.
Worked yourself up.
It's all a mental. It's that the connection, in the brain where you just associate it with something you don't like.
Yes.
It's like waiting in line for a roller coaster where you're freaking out and then you ride it and you're like,
I wanna do that
that was
again.
actually pretty fun.
Yeah, once in a while we hit the home run and we're like, oh, look, she liked it. But
Yeah.
I'd say when it comes to my kids, that's the one thing that I messed up on. I let them eat the macaroni and cheese and the chicken nuggets
The
for way
easy
too
stuff.
long.
Same.
Yeah.
Because now it's a fight. Everything else, though, I mean, they're advanced.
Yeah.
Like, my kids will talk to you like they're tough. They're adults.
Well,
you know?
they do. They talk like little adults.
They're the
very
ones that
mature.
are on the beginning and the end of the show.
Yeah.
Is that- I
Yes.
figured. That's
Yes.
Remember when the Italian market, when we went in there for like the grand opening, they were sitting outside.
Sure,
like,
they were working.
Yeah, I've met them a couple times. Yeah.
rooting people
Yes.
in, and
They're
it's like,
super
it's
smart.
So
They
great
said
to see that.
I think they said Dad said for every 5 or 10 people we sign up, we get whatever.
Some money
Exactly.
or something. And they
Yes.
hustled, yeah.
Yeah, it was
Yes.
great.
Well, it's great to give kids incentives like that, though. I love that.
And we've had them each on our podcast separately.
Yes.
And the older one, she did say, we talked about the challenges they have, exploring foods. And she said, well, if Dad had started us out earlier, it would be a lot easier.
Yeah.
So her advice to parents is to start your kids. And it
Young.
was so wise.
That's
Yeah.
that's well
Yeah.
thought out. But don't
Yeah.
beat yourself up, Denny,
No,
because
don't.
Oh, no,
so many,
there-
and
Yeah,
you
you
were
can't
kind
do
of a
that.
single dad. I mean, I was.
Yeah.
Me too. So that's the thing. When
And-
you're a single dad, you're just trying to get
I mean,
it
at
done.
least you're
and-
feeding them at home.
When you have that
like,
first
that's the
kid,
thing.
like you're a
Yeah.
single dad with one kid, you don't know what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
So one thing I did do really well was I talked to them like adults when they were babies.
Yes.
And they automatically started talking like really good.
That's exactly
And
it.
everyone was like,
Yeah.
wow, your kids talk so good. Now
I hate
Izzy's
it.
about to go to high school. She's a valedictorian of her class.
Nice.
Yeah, the baby talk is like.
I hate
Yeah.
it.
Because then they make those baby noises when you baby talk
Yeah.
them. And
Yeah.
they don't know how you're
I
supposed to
swear
sound.
it gives them a speech impediment, the baby talk stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like it gives them a speech impediment.
And then-
I was always like,
I want some wah
Yeah.
wah. What?
Right, you
Right.
talk to your
What?
kid like that.
Exactly.
Hate it.
And
That's
then
a
when
pet
you
peeve.
run to them when they cry, then they're going to think, oh, I'm supposed to cry to get them to come. So my kids know if I say no, crying is not going to do anything. They won't even try it.
Remember on Meet the Fockers, it's called Ferberizing, where
Yes.
you leave them in the
Yeah.
playpen and let them kind of like just
Yeah,
work it
cry
out.
it out.
Yes.
I told him he has to do that with the dog. You have to let the dog
come
do
on,
that.
it's hard
How is
with
that
the dog.
working?
It's harder with a dog.
How's it working out?
it's harder with a puppy.
Your pup. We just met your puppy. Is cutest.
Yeah, she's the
Oh.
best. So I'm curious. I'm going to ask you this first, Maria, but you guys have such a diverse palette and all the experience of all the different kinds of food. I'd like to think I do. I don't nearly as much as you, but I'm kind of like Denny. I'm expanding on it.
I was going to say, well, let's talk about who had the diversity first.
Yeah.
Because when we
Oh,
listened to the
without a
podcast,
doubt,
we know
Maria.
that Denny did not have the
No,
diversity.
she's opened my eyes the last 2 years.
I love that.
Oh my gosh, me too. Because now there's food that I love that I never knew existed.
I know.
When her and I met, I ate Italian food and steaks.
Yeah.
I don't
That
think
was
I,
it.
I don't think
It's
I
pretty
ever.
good food, though. That's great.
It is.
I mean, I ate it my whole life.
Pretty good choices.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever met someone who hadn't eaten Indian food or ever tasted it.
Yeah.
He's
Thai
like,
food.
I've never had Thai food. I've never had Indian food. You know, and I'm
Yeah.
like, what? This is going to be so much fun.
Yeah, no doubt.
So, like on our first date, we went and we ate Reyes Mezcaleria. We had worms and ants and all
Crickets.
kinds of
Oh my-
crickets.
That sounds fun to
this
try. And
Sounded,
honestly,
okay,
it was
honestly,
good.
this sounded like a test, Denny.
Yes.
I'm not gonna lie. She was gonna.
It really
she was
was.
seeing if you could hack this experience you're about to go through.
exactly.
It was
Definitely
a
was.
very weird first date because I had never had mezcal and I drank too much of it. I've never ate crickets and I ate a bunch of them.
You had mezcal and bugs on your first date.
On our first
That's
date.
It's no
pretty
wonder you
amazing
guys are
story.
And
still
there was
together.
this really weird connection between her and I that happened. Like, remember the candle flew off the table and broke? We're like, what the hell?
Yeah.
I was like, I thought she threw it. I was like, did you just throw that candle off the table?
Yeah, we were sitting at a table.
So
at,
something
at
spooky
Reyes.
happened.
Yeah.
A lot of spooky.
There's been a
things
lot of stuff
have
actually
happened.
between us.
Yeah, so it's kind of the dynamics I think were set very early on where we teach each other different things and we expose each other to different things, and I really enjoy freaking him out with food primarily.
Yeah.
Food.
It makes for a great podcast conversation
does.
on your show.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, it was a good point, Angie, because I sort of am assuming everyone listening to us now has listened to your show because I already knew she was the more diverse one. But what is your favorite kind of food, Maria?
I
Do
really
you have one?
I think I do. I really like Persian food. It's
Yeah.
very diverse, so it can be Turkish. It
Oh, I was
can
gonna
be
say I've
Lebanese.
never had Persian food, but yes, I have.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it's very diverse, but it kind of has all the components that I love. So they use a lot of vegetables. They use a lot of rice. They don't use a lot of meats. So
Yes.
it's kind of all the best food groups together, and they use a lot of like sour and hot heat. So it's just
Oh,
components.
it sounds great.
Yeah, and it's like Lebanese or Turkish. I'm a quarter Turkish, so it kind of runs in my blood. But it just encompasses a lot of different ingredients and ways of Mediterranean, like almost Greek.
Mediterranean
it's
is
very
her
So that's
similar.
my favorite. Yes, Mediterranean.
It's
food.
very clean,
Yep.
very healthy.
Are we on? Are we
I want to
running?
look for that red light. Is there a red light on there?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Sorry.
Red lights on there. Red
Yeah, I
lights on
forgot to
there.
check
We got
that.
it.
Sorry.
Check.
But Mediterranean, it's funny, and maybe more like you, Denny. I don't think I ever really ate Mediterranean. When you name all the other regions that includes, I know I haven't eaten a lot of that. Is it all pretty similar?
There's a lot of similarities. Like rice is a huge component.
Yeah.
Heavy spices, not necessarily heat like hot,
Right.
but spices.
Like flavor.
Yeah,
Flavorful,
yeah. But they also have a lot of simplicity. Like I've spent a month in Greece, so I did a lot of traveling there. And there's places where they have really complex dishes, and there's places where they just slice a tomato and put some olive oil on it.
Which
and
it sounds amazing.
yeah, and it's
still.
amazing to me.
and the tomatoes. I mean, everything they grow over there, it just tastes so different
Sure.
from things we grow here. Just the flavor of it is so more intense and
Yeah.
Yeah.
sweeter, more rich.
Yeah.
So
Probably very locally grown too, because we
Yes.
actually have done an interview with a couple authors and they live in Turkey now. They've retired. They were from Britain or Europe,
England.
England, and they retired to Turkey because it's so beautiful. They love the culture there. It's very just community. And one of the people we interviewed, Jane, she has these huge olive trees that grow in her yard, and she can't eat all those olives, so she'll glean and take it to the local market and sell them. And she gets a certain amount of the fresh cold press.
Nice. Very
and
nice.
then the rest she gives to the community. I mean, it's
That's awesome.
That
like
product,
we want to
though,
visit there,
forget
but
about
that sound like that. The food goes in with just the culture of how it's everybody shares and helps, and it's so cool.
And we'll talk a little bit more about the culture, but your whole comment about the tomato and how much more flavor it is. I feel like that's something that I have learned just from, even though here maybe it doesn't taste as good, growing it versus buying it is a dramatic difference in flavor. It's like a whole different flavor. Like just growing up on grocery store vegetables, I had no idea that I do actually like some things, or, it's hard to get a tomato.
The taste is different.
If something's grown in a mass production type of setting, and that's all you know. I went through the same thing. I grew up eating
Danny
grocery
grew
store.
up on a farm.
Oh, I didn't know that.
We had an onion farm. So
I
we
knew
had some
that
fresh
from
stuff.
the podcast.
Yes. So we had a lot of fresh stuff, but like growing up grocery store stuff, I always thought I knew, like pineapples, for instance. About, 10 years ago, I went to Panama, the country, and I took a bite of pineapple and I was like, oh my God, like this is the best pineapple I've ever had by far.
Sure.
And they're like, what are you talking about? It's like a tenth of the price of the pineapples we buy.
Yeah.
It's just growing right here on a tree. And I was like, wait a minute, because we're getting these ones that are pumped with whatever.
Yeah.
They ship green
Oh
probably.
my God. So then I started really exploring that. What other foods around are just naturally grown?
Yeah.
And my God, you taste the difference.
That's how you were when you went to Hawaii. With guava juice?
Guava juice. Yeah, you can't buy guava juice. It doesn't taste good. But there, it is.
Because they probably
and it's
just
in
grew it.
abundance. Yeah. It's fresh squeezed
And it's
everywhere.
cheaper than anything.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
It's 50% sugar here. You get guava juice and it's
True.
like Kool-Aid. It's like fruit punch.
Right. That's how I found out about a lot of things in the world.
Yeah.
Like, wow, wait a minute. This is the difference. This is what it's about.
It's not as extreme as your examples, but for me, the food that was like that was apples. So I was in upstate New York on like holiday, and we stopped at like an orchard.
What a
And
difference.
the people I was with were all excited. I'm like, I thought we were going to go drink beer in a cabin. We're stopping for apples? Come on. And after trying them, I'm like, oh my, I would have these all over my house if they tasted like the apples taste like
That's
paper
literally where I'm
compared to-
from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
that's
is it?
why
Yep, I'm from
we are planning our next North Carolina trip around apple season
Yeah.
because it starts
smart.
in like late August, and we've been going up at different times of the year to make sure. Okay, do we really like the temperature change, and is it going to get too cold for it? What is it?
It's worth it.
Yeah.
It's definitely worth it.
But they have some local orchards there that are just amazing. So
And you'll get the apple butter and the apple cider.
yeah.
we'll get
and all
everything. Are
Yes.
you kidding me?
Apple pie.
Yes.
We're getting everything.
Are you from upstate New York?
Yeah, just outside of Syracuse. So
Oh, very
I know
nice.
all about those
So
apple
do you know
stuff.
where I think it's called Lake Sylvia? Lake
Sylvia.
I might not be getting it. Nobody knows the lake, so I'm probably getting it wrong. Anyway, it was a gorgeous lake that was surrounded by cabins, and it was leaf season. And again, I was
Beautiful up there.
teasing everybody like, what does that even mean? And then when I saw it, I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah, I grew up in that setting, so I took it for granted. And then I
Yeah.
moved here in Florida, and I'm like, oh, I miss those.
So you
season.
grew up more in the country.
Yeah,
You
Syracuse
grew
is
up more in the city.
yes.
So very much so.
What a
It's
cool
just
mix.
this it just kind of fits, right? When you think people are so opposite, and then the synergy between you two is really great.
I think our experiences in life were a lot different, but
Yeah.
the type of person we are very similar. So when we met, you ever meet someone and you meet someone, you say, wow, we like each other or whatever. It was like that, but way stronger. Like,
That's how we were.
I met her through someone else, and I was like, instantly was like, there was a connection. Like I was going to
It's
tackle
an
her.
energy you feel,
yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, I think so.
Yep.
That's
And
awesome.
then before you know it, we're like, maybe we should like date, take it slow. We're both coming out of situations.
Yeah.
And then a week later, we're like, let's live together and be together forever.
Oh, I love
Yeah,
it.
ours wasn't much longer.
We started
thought
like-
it was, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
And we've done so much. And we started businesses and the podcast. And
That's part of it too. Being able to do that. I mean, I'm the master of disaster in my past with relationships. So even living in a house with someone's impossible. But if you can do all those things, that's kind of the same stuff we've done. That speaks to just how much chemistry. You can't fake that. You can't do
Right.
business stuff together.
Right.
And you got to be best friends. You know what I mean?
Right. It'll fall apart fast.
And
So
I think that it really worked for us because I was at a point where I was going through a major change in my life for the better. I was like, you know what? I'm getting older. I'm going to straighten. My life's about to change now.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm going to make the most of my life. And I met her right then. And then she kind of pushed me to do great things.
So she was one of the steps in making your life better. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Major step.
So I've noticed some of those pushes. So some of the things that I've noticed is like when I do come into Tornatore's, get this right. I'm going to
never
say it
gonna
so
get
many
it.
times. I'm
Never
going
gonna
to
get it
never
right.
going to get it wrong again. I love that Maria's there dressed up, and you just talked on your last episode about wearing the high heels.
Yes,
I see you in them, and I'm like, my feet hurt right
I
now.
don't know how she does it.
But I appreciate it. You come in, somebody's dressed up nice. It heightens the class.
Agreed.
May I say?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You feel like you're in more of a fine dining type restaurant.
thank you.
So
Yeah.
I very much appreciate that because there is one thing I look for, it's service.
Yeah.
You know, he knows. I will be like, and I know I'm a very patient person and I know that, you know, oh my gosh, they're busy, but it's just talking to people that just helps. All you gotta do is just
absolutely.
make eye contact, smile. It don't matter. Like
I'll be
just
right with
notice
you,
that I'm
yes.
here, you know?
Yeah.
And so that has been something I have noticed that I love. Not that we didn't get hosted.
No.
or
We're
whatever,
elevating the whole thing for sure.
but that's definitely elevated it. And then let's talk a little bit about the charcuterie classes because that has been something that you guys have kind of collabed on, and we love that. We've been
We
to
can't
one.
wait to come back either. That was
Level
so
2
fun.
is coming
Yeah,
soon.
we're
You guys are
level
going to be our
2.
guest.
Yeah.
So when we first got together, we went to Tennessee on a little vacation to get to know each other, basically. And we were going to drive. I was already there with my kids. She was going to fly up and drive back with us. This is like when we first got together.
Wow.
So I said to my kids, you know, we're gonna spend some time with her now. We're gonna see if this is a good match, and then we're gonna drive all the way home. So if we're not gonna kill each other,
I think
by
that
the
was
end of
another
that ride,
test too that we each had because we both travel a lot.
Yeah.
and to travel
And-
together, see how it goes.
Yeah.
If you can't,
That's an
travel,
important test. Yeah.
If you can't travel successfully with someone, that's not going to work for me anymore.
Yeah, I
So-
agree. And adding the kids in is
Yes.
definitely testing
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah, so I knew like we're about to drive
Yeah, let's
10
take the
hours.
stress level to the next
Let's,
phase.
let's get in the car for 10 hours and see with the kids and see how this goes.
Yes.
I don't know if I could do that with my own kids. But
So on the way back, Maria and I were talking about, you know, things, life, what our plans are, and I was really at this point where I want to do stuff. You know, I cleaned my whole life up, and we were talking about doing a pasta making class. And then it
love
was
that,
kind of like, but it's so messy and
Yeah.
things like that. And then the kitchen at the restaurant, I don't want to have everyone in the kitchen, liabilities and stuff. So we had the market. We got back, and the market, we noticed everybody was buying charcuterie stuff. That was like, because we have access to all this stuff.
Sure.
We're getting all this stuff from Italy, and we're noticing.
And I'm huge into charcuterie because I don't cook.
yeah.
Right.
So
It's a-
that's
yeah.
and we were
always
already
been-
doing it. We were
Yeah.
drinking wine every night and making
you can
charcuterie.
still be creative.
Yes.
And
It-
feel
you know
like
what?
you're, you know,
It's
It's a cool
being a
way
hostess.
because even before the class we went to, it was a perfect fit for us because she was already doing it. She had introduced me to it, but it's a really cool way to make a classy meal without having to cook. And
Exactly.
that's what we're having guests or we're going to somebody's house. Just put
And
that
it's-
together. And
Yeah.
Yeah, it's casual. Pick at it.
Yeah.
And my whole life, I made antipasto. I'm Italian.
Yeah.
So we, started talking. Maybe we'll do a class about charcuterie.
We
Yeah.
were definitely going to do a business together.
We were doing something, but we didn't know what it was.
Both very business oriented. I had a business and a nonprofit.
Yep.
He has, his own, and we were like, we have to get together because we spend time together and we both are competitive and we like to challenge ourselves. So
And
we're
each
like,
other, probably.
yeah. So a business was just going to happen.
Yeah.
And I
So-
knew you'd be part of the restaurant eventually. She doesn't have a restaurant background as far as working in a restaurant.
Right.
That doesn't
But I
matter,
knew
though.
that
Yeah.
I knew that we could work together and make the restaurant
the
better.
business
Yeah.
skills, the PR skills.
I knew that
Yeah.
we would be a perfect fit for it, but I had to it was scarier for her because she had to give up her other company and really focus on the restaurant.
Yeah.
But I knew that was going to work out. But
Yeah,
the
yeah.
charcuterie class was something new, so we scheduled one. And if you look back, it was totally different than the way we do it now. Of
course.
Because you're going to learn as you go.
Of
Yeah.
course.
And we did didn't really plan what we would do. There's no script.
A lot of ad-libbing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we kind of just went along with it and kind of see, where it took us.
Sure.
Yeah.
And so there were a lot of times where I would say, you're hogging up all the time, or, you shouldn't say that, or let's do this. And so it kind of evolved. And
I love
grew.
how honest you guys are with each other. I noticed that on the podcast. So you're very honest with each other as far as
It's
things
something
like
she
that.
told me when we first got together. She said, "Let's not bullshit each other ever. Tell me if I'm doing something that's bothering you. Let's make our lives most
Like we're
enjoyable."
adults. Like,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, let's not waste.
exactly.
And if you've come
we
from
waste
any
each other's time.
disasters, not to get into that,
Yeah.
but you don't want to do that again. That's what you
Right.
have to.
Why waste
Yeah.
your life?
Right.
Yeah, and
You
we're
know?
both divorced, and so
Yeah.
we're, I'm 45, he's 43. So
We don't have time to
we
screw around.
definitely had that conversation where it's like, look, this is who I am. These are the good things. These are the bad things.
Yep.
Let me reiterate the bad things.
Yeah, make sure you know the problem with these things. We
Right.
both have some baggage. Like that's
Yeah.
who
I
doesn't.
love it because
Yeah.
when you're
Everybody
young, the
has baggage.
representative is there. It's always the representative that wrecks
Right.
everything.
And I want to be myself the rest of my
Same
life
attitude.
and
Amen.
enjoy my life.
Amen.
That is the thing. We've
So-
both been in relationships where we cannot
Yeah.
be who we really are, and to have somebody that embraces who you are and wants you to be that person all the time. You're
That's
like,
what life's about.
yeah.
what is this? This isn't normal.
Right, and that's what people like. Your whole. This is gonna sound so corny. This is what people look for their whole life when they say true love and this and that. I finally found my. No, like when you find someone that you can be yourself,
Yeah.
and not worry about I'm embarrassed or whatever.
Yeah.
That's life. That's like then you can really
Yeah.
take it to another level.
It's
focus
funny
on it.
because I used to say, I used
successful
to have
and
this friend that said, "Oh, my lover's my best friend," and I'm like, "Ugh, that is ridiculous. I
Yeah.
have never heard of such a thing." Because to me, being married was like the Bickersons. Me and my ex-husband were called the Bickersons. Like that's what we did
funny.
about everything. It was,
And there's so many
not-
couples like that. I
No.
mean, we see them all the time.
Yeah, but now that I have that, I'm like, oh, it's real.
But if you don't know, you don't know. So you
Yeah.
think that the normal would be, this is the person I fight with every night. You know?
know.
But it elevates. I wouldn't have written my books without her. I mean, I was trying to for years, but finally somebody said, set aside some time. Do this for you. Bought me a little desk thing with a Post-it note that said, write that book. Those kinds of things, that
Yeah.
I suggest everyone don't stop looking until you find that person because
don't
in
get
the
married
last
until
year,
you're at least 35.
Oh yeah, that's
or you
huge.
stop looking and it's just
and it happens,
it-
and that's
you're-
what happened to us.
Like
honestly.
neither of us
happens.
were looking, and it was just like,
And it's funny because that's how it
Wow.
always works.
Yeah.
yeah,
People that are in our boat, they always say,
That's
"I wasn't
how-
even looking because I wasn't either. I just came in one day and pow, there she was."
Yeah.
But I think I have something like my experience is really different in that every past relationship I've had has been good. I've never had any bad, nothing
Oh,
bad
good
to
for
say.
you.
Wow.
That's-
Yeah,
Okay.
nothing, never, ever, nothing bad. But it just came to a point with all of them where I got bored. I wasn't
Yeah.
growing personally. We weren't growing personally. I didn't think I was helping him. I didn't feel he was helping me. But
Yeah.
we were friends.
Just existing together.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
there wasn't that passion with almost I've never had a bad relationship, never ever.
Just doled out.
I
And-
think you're
well,
one of the only people in the world.
She's
that could probably
very
say
lucky.
that.
She told me that when we first met. She
Yeah,
goes, I usually a few years in, I get bored and I end up outgrowing the person
Yeah.
because they get content.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I'm never going to be content. So
Right.
Yeah.
And with Denny, he said, "Oh, I'm always, doing this for the women in my life." And I'm like, "Well, just so you know, I've always had amazing men. So I'm not looking for these. I'm looking for the dynamics, the,
Yeah.
interaction, I don't care what you buy me or, that kind of,
You're-
which
it's
is
not-
fantastic.
You're not looking for somebody
to woo you so
to
much.
woo
Right.
you.
Right.
Or you want somebody to motivate you and to
Yeah.
to chat, like you said, the challenge,
keep leveling each other up.
Yeah.
level
Yeah.
each other up.
And all the partners they've always given me the space to do whatever I want,
That's different,
but
though.
it's not the same.
No, it's
it's
not
not
the
the same. And now
No.
it's the first time that I do have that with
That's
Denny,
amazing.
because we'll take a few days off and he's like, "Oh my God, we're not doing anything. Let's do something." And I'm like,
but
okay.
That's huge, though,
Yeah.
because
Yes.
I think by human nature, even those of us like I am ridiculously driven to get a million projects done. I have all these things I want to do. And sometimes it gets in the way of each thing gets in the way of the other. But to have someone that is pushing you to to kind of get on board with you with that motivation, because you're
Yes.
right. I think as human nature, sometimes we can drift or drift, and we're like, well,
And then you get complacent.
all this
kind
time
of.
has
Yeah.
gone by. We haven't really done anything. So I love that you do that to each other. I think that's going to contribute to your happiness all the way through
And I
and
think
success.
Yeah, and I think another huge thing is that my dreams are really big.
Yeah.
I think they're bigger. I strive for grander than Denny does, but Denny is really realistic. Like
Yeah.
he makes a list. He's like, "This is my list. I'm
We
sticking
might be
to this."
related.
And I need that because I'm more of the dreamer and
Yeah.
he's more of the
And I'm like,
doer.
let's do this now.
That's
Because
how I am too. I want to do
Yeah.
1,000
Talking
things.
about
Yeah.
And I can't organize it.
So together, our visions are grander, but they're possible.
Yes.
you know.
Yeah.
So
They tease me at work. They say it's like sweat equity, because if we end the meeting, if I don't have a to-do list, why do we have this meeting? So
Yeah.
I'm with
That's
you.
Denny.
It's like,
I'm telling
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I feel like I'm wasting my time if I'm talking about doing something if we're not going to do it.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
let's make it happen.
Yeah.
And she's pushed me to, we started this thing, and I was at a point in my life, like I said, where I was trying to do great things, met her at the perfect time. And in the last 2 years, I've literally done more for myself than I
is
have in
amazing.
the last 10.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, that's
So
great.
we've really
so
come a lot of steps.
charcuterie class is one of those things. That,
Yes.
So let's just talk about the
Yes.
success, whatever.
Charcuterie class.
There's always a word. There's always a word during every
now
podcast.
getting into your charcuterie class is like concert tickets now, by the way.
Oh
It's
yes,
like,
thank you very much. It's like you've got to be ready to like hit that button and buy those
I'd
classes.
say by
mean,
the
such-
third one,
Yeah.
it started to really
Yeah.
people started to like really talk about it. And then we started, because her and I both have this thing where we've never had a problem talking in front of people. Or
Sure.
I don't get nervous if there's 1,000 people that I'm going to
Me
talk
neither.
to. And same
are
with her.
related.
Yeah, I never, but some people freak out
Yeah.
when it
Oh,
comes to
yeah.
that.
and I was a public speaker. I
We
traveled the
both
world
have
as a
no
public
problem.
speaker.
Yeah.
So we started fine tuning the class to where it's almost like a comedy show.
It really
where
is.
we bust each other's balls. We're making
Yeah.
charcuterie. We're picking on the audience.
Yeah.
I agree. It's
The
great.
class
and
is
the,
great. I mean, it's fun. It's
and
we
the
even got
level-
a little dirty last
Yeah.
time during the class.
Yes.
Great, which is right in my alley.
adults
so.
in the room. But the level of charcuterie too is like the stuff that you thought to add that we now add
Yeah.
is levels up. So even
Okay,
if you-
let's talk about the honey truffle.
I tried to make it to where it was going to be unique, because as it got popular, people started copying us. But what they were doing, they're putting pepperoni and cheese on a board and just and charging you.
Yeah.
But also because Denny and I are such big foodies, the normal food isn't exciting.
Sure.
Yeah.
So we want to learn. We're constantly learning, and we were looking for a class like the one we teach. And I think that's kind of how it started too. We're looking for a cooking class or something to do together.
Yeah.
And the closest thing was like the Publix apron
The
cooking
aprons.
class.
We've
Those
done
are
that.
fun.
Yeah,
it's
they're
cool.
fun.
Whatever.
But
yeah.
they weren't really what we wanted.
They're not leveling you up.
And so Denny and I were like, well, let's try to do one to, create one together. And that's kind of how it started. But if there isn't an item, like an ingredient that we're not excited to introduce, then we don't want it in our class.
Sure.
We
You
want to
know.
blow you guys away with every
and
single
that's one
part
of
of
the
it.
things I love is so Maria adds that history, the scientific elements behind the cheeses and the,
The
meats
facts.
and like where
That's-
it comes from, and that is always something we look for in experiences.
You do that on your show too.
What are we going to learn from it? Like we want to learn and,
And I
have
think
some
that's why it's
information.
working so well on the show and the charcuterie class, because we have that yin yang. Like, I'm gonna be rah rah, and she's gonna be like, calm down.
I'm
and let
the
me tell
brains of the
No, I knew
operation.
you were gonna say that. So she'll come out with her facts, and everyone, and I'll be, doing my thing, and I think it just works well together. And it's not just our show; it's how our life is.
Yeah.
She's like, "You're the bull in the china shop. Calm down." I'm like, "I'm not yelling or anything. Like, I'm just talking to you."
You know what though? I swear it's a perfect mix, because listening to your show, and I've been binging on it lately, but Maria, your descriptions of the food make me want to eat it, and your voice. Something
My
about your
excitement
voice.
about
His
it.
excitement.
Yeah,
He's
something
like
about the
so
tone of your voice and your maybe it's.
I get like
excitement and-
excited about food, and
Yeah.
when we started doing the show, she said, 'cause we were up in the air if I was going to be myself or not, because she was
No,
like, no,
it wasn't-
I did. If something's bad, I'm going to say it sucks.
Yeah.
And I own a restaurant,
But
so
I
I
love
can't
that.
be.
There's a way
I
to
got
season
to be
it in a
careful.
certain way, though.
And
I think you're okay.
But I mean, we're
that
not
was-
perfect. We
and
get
that-
bad reviews.
But it was not whether we were going to be honest. It was just how
Can I say a bad review without looking like a
Can I
dick?
tell you, we did the same thing with the show, and I was more like you, Maria, where I'm like, we got to
we don't
want to
have somebody on the show that's we don't support. You know what I mean?
But early on, I was trying to be a little more proper and making sure we didn't say. And
was
finally,
so hard for us.
Finally, we just loosened up, and it feels a lot more honest to
like
me.
not
yourself, your
cussing.
show will
yeah,
be a
like
lot
not
better.
cussing. We kept a clean show. Do you know how hard that? You know how many edits this man had?
Yeah.
Because we do say a lot of potty words. You know what I
Same.
mean? And it's
It was like
he had so many edits.
4 hours to make a 1 hour
was-
podcast.
It was so much stress on him. And finally, I'm just like, I think we both got to a point where we're like, we're just not being ourselves, dude.
Yeah.
Like we say cuss words sometimes.
Yeah.
It's
But
okay.
the beauty is the honesty of your show and
Yeah.
the charcuterie class, but it comes through. It comes through that it's like on the show when you say, we had a bad server, or it's done respectfully in a way. Like, this restaurant's always good. Like,
And
I just
it's
heard, I think it's the
yeah.
latest one, and it's like, this restaurant's always good, but the server was just,
It's an honest review.
And it also follows up though with somebody that works in the industry can really critique it to me
Yeah,
because you always followed up with we all have bad days.
Yeah.
We're going to give them a second chance, and you'll go back and you'll give them a second chance. You know what I mean? So that's the positive that you're taking from it, is that we know that stuff happens. Sometimes the kitchen is thrown off or whatever it may be. We've never had that experience at Tornatore's, by the way.
right. No doubt.
But everyone has a bad
You
day.
know, it happens. But I want to go back before I forget this, because we know I'll forget it. So you were saying how her description makes you want to eat the food. I can envision the food when you describe it.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
So like when I look at the pictures, like after she's
You know
describing
what you're
it,
talking
I'm
about.
like, oh my gosh, that's like kind of what I was thinking. And the picture like matches the description. So
Thank
I don't want
you.
to say it's a guy thing, but something about just Denny, where the tone of your voice when you're like, oh, that was so good. I'm like, I'm mowing the yard yesterday. I'm like, I want to go wherever they were going
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
now.
So
Because I'm gonna be honest about it.
So whenever you go back and listen to yourself on the podcast, do you pick out little quirks about yourself?
Oh my God, I do.
Okay, so I got Denny's. It's like, I got to tell you.
This is a part of the story.
That's I got to listen. I got to tell
I
you.
got to tell you.
That's Denny's phrase, and I love it. I'm like, what is he going to tell me?
That-
oh my
that's a
gosh,
good one,
I
though.
got to go.
We go
I
back and make
listen right
fun
now.
of
We make fun of each other.
We listen to it one time after we do it to see if it's
Sure.
okay.
Yeah.
And we literally just like, oh, you just said it again. That's your little.
I know.
Dude, but our first podcast, I
gosh.
said the word podcast 32 times. I cut together a little supercut where it's me going, podcast, ding,
Ding,
podcast, ding. It was terrible.
It was.
Maria made her little tagline at the end of our show that we were going to end the show with her saying, what is it?
Be happy, stay healthy, keep eating.
But she could not say it right. Every episode it was different.
because for me, it's my line. I can say it in whatever order.
No,
But Danny's like, no, you have to
Maria's
say it in the
dyslexic,
exact same
and
order.
she does it different every time. So I made a picture of it, and it's on the wall. I was like, at the end of the show, I'm like, read it.
It's my line.
Isn't that part of life though? We have to be able to make fun of ourselves. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Yes.
Like you have to
Sure.
laugh at it. If you make a mistake, whatever. And
Yes.
Dan has a very type A personality,
Guilty.
perfectionist. And so it would be very stressful for me because I'm more of like spontaneity and just whatever. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
And to me, the podcast sounds fine, but he's like, and taking on these, and it took him
Taking
how
out-
long? 6 hours, 8 hours sometimes to edit a podcast, and I'm like,
We've
this is taking
stopped
too
all
much
that.
time out of.
But I was
Dan
like
time for
if you
me,
started
you know?
to talk and you go, and then you said, I was like, I'll cut that out. It's like, why? Just
Why?
people talk like that.
Just
Right.
we make this, we flub over. I always say so. I can't pronounce a word sometimes. Like,
Well, we
there's
had
always
an,
something.
We had an episode where it was near the end, and we always just take one recording of it. But Danny all of a sudden stopped talking, and I'm like, "What's happened?" He's like, "It's an eagle. Look out the window.
I
It's
heard
an
that.
eagle."
I heard that. That was
I
great.
couldn't believe it. We
So
just
I
built
get
a new
up.
studio, and it's cool.
You left it in there though. That was great.
I was like, yeah, let's make it. It's real. Let's be real.
Yeah.
yeah, that's how we are now. It's like,
Or I
whatever.
mispronounce words constantly.
Constantly.
Because we were studying for the sommelier.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Say it again.
sommelier.
Sommelier.
I almost say it right.
Sommelier. It's
So-
3 syllables.
Sommelier.
So I say,
I have a funny story.
People
about
put
that
an
word
extra
after we're
syllable.
done.
People put an E in it.
hold
People
on.
say sommelier.
say it one more time.
Sommelier.
So I say sommelier. So I'm close.
So close.
Yeah, yeah. Close.
Sommelier.
Angie says it interestingly.
People always said sommelier.
Let's see how she says it.
Yes, I call them a wine concierge.
I like that.
She asked me in a restaurant, can you ask for the wine concierge? I'm like, that's not a thing. That's the guy hotel that you ask for.
Where to go?
That's good. I like that. That's
So we
pretty
both
good.
became sommeliers.
That is
That's
so
amazing.
awesome.
But studying for that and leading up to it, I was constantly pronouncing the words wrong because
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
hard to say.
Sure.
Yeah.
So on the show, I'm butchering words all the time.
Yep.
So I'm interested how is this going to elevate the restaurant? How is being a
Sommelier.
sommelier?
It's kind of like saying A-OK, sommelier.
Okay,
sommelier.
sommelier. Okay.
Sommelier.
I'm super curious about that too, though.
Yeah.
Like, how are you going to integrate that into the restaurant?
So I think I'm always looking for ways to continue learning. Like I'm a total nerd, total school dork, love it, love it. And I wanted to get to become a cheesemonger, and I wanted to get my sommelier license. And it was my idea originally. And Danny's like, I want to do it too.
Is that what they call a cheese specialist? A cheesemonger?
Cheesemonger.
Yes,
Yeah.
there's
It's another
different
license too, yeah.
names. Yeah,
Wow.
Sounds like the Cookie Monster or something kind of.
It's like
you
a-
eat a lot of cheese.
like a fishmonger.
I didn't
That's
know that
the
was
person
a thing.
who cuts your the fish.
So you got to pass tests
She
to get these
almost
titles.
said cuts the cheese.
Yes,
That
I
was
almost
amazing.
did.
I was waiting.
I was like, that's Denny's line.
I literally used that joke. I mean, how do you not use that in a charcuterie
have
class?
I'm over here thinking I might be a wine monger, but I'm not a sommelier.
Winemonger is good too. I like it.
But it will help us pair food. We can host our own wine dinners with two professional sommeliers.
Oh, I'm in.
Yeah.
We're in.
And literally, I knew a lot about wine from drinking and being a bartender for all those years.
Sure.
But I knew nothing. I thought I did. When it came time to take that
I
test, I
mean,
was
you're
like,
really
oh,
getting
man.
down to the
The
like,
science?
It's very
element, the
hard,
science
very
of it,
hard
yeah.
test. 10% pass. It's a less than 10% pass rate on the test, and we both passed it.
That's why it's so such an esteemed thing, though. Is it a
Very
lot
good.
of the science behind wine? Is that what you're learning? A lot
Yeah, there's it's vinification is the making of the wine, and vitification is the science of growing the vines. So you have to learn both.
So you got to learn
But
both
you
of those.
also-
A lot of geography.
A lot of
Yeah.
history, a lot of law.
Law is a big part of it. Every country's got their
wow.
own wine laws, and you have to follow those laws to make it be called and be produced that type of
You
wine.
have to know soil like schist
That's
and
the
chalk
geography
and
part, yeah.
granite.
The geography was the hardest part for me.
Is that just because of the way the soils change the flavors of the wine and all that?
Certain grapes
different
grow in certain.
minerals. So that's that white wine
The
that we love so
minerality.
much. They started talking about you're going to taste bits of
Tastes like the
copper
beach.
You'll taste
or-
you'll taste the ground.
Yeah,
So every
it's
wine when you
really
taste it,
interesting.
this is how you learn to know what a wine is by tasting it. It's the smell is the biggest thing.
Yep.
But it's the type of fruit you're gonna taste. It's the earth,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then you'll taste the process of how they made it.
Terroir.
Oh, at the end.
Of what
So-
they added when you
Yeah.
it's
So
in
how
oak
did they make it? So
barrel
that's
or-
how
yeah.
you'll see these really good guys. They'll take a sip and say, "This is a 2008 Cabernet from this valley in California," because they'll taste the fruit. That'll tell them which type
Yeah.
of wine it is. Then they'll taste the earth. And that'll tell them where it's from. And then the process of where it's how it's made, and then that's how they're going to
And
narrow
they
right
can
in
do
on
that
it.
because one of our favorite servers, Jeff, at the
Chef's
Chef's
Table.
Table in Winter Garden,
Mm-hmm.
he's kind of what drew us into that because like he'd get down to your level and be like, okay, now take a sip of this.
Yeah.
And then take a bite of that, and then you taste the difference.
This-
Yeah.
And this is what we're going to be doing with our
This
song.
is how food is supposed to be experienced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Much
like-
wine is supposed to be experienced.
Yeah, and much like you guys, he would say, "Yeah, I like this wine. I'm gonna have a glass with you." And you're like, "No, he's not. He's selling." And then you look over where they're cooking, and he's drinking a glass of it. And you're like, "This is a real deal."
Have you
So,
guys been to the Chef's Table?
I have
No.
not.
Oh my
But I'd love to review it on our
Maria.
show.
Yeah.
I would
Maria?
love both of your take
sounds
on it.
amazing.
it
Yes.
is-
Let's go together sometime.
Yeah, so
Oh my
we
God, I
we
would
actually
do
do
it.
this for our anniversary every year.
let's do
It's
it
how-
again.
So I
When's your
discovered,
anniversary?
yeah, May 23rd.
Where is it
coming up
in
there.
Winter Park?
So it's in Winter Park. So they have the Edgewater Hotel, which is an old hotel built in the 20s or the 30s, and they still rent rooms out there.
Oldest working Otis elevator
yes.
in the country.
Yep.
Wow.
Like where they pull
And-
a gate shut and then
Oh,
they have
yeah.
to time it to line it
Wow.
up. It's
It's
pretty cool.
really cool experience, but the chef's table is right downstairs, so you can take your elevator right downstairs, and it's a very you eat right around where they cook, right
Love
in
that.
the
I've
kitchen.
never heard of
There
it. I
may
can't
be-
believe
I've heard of the
never
place.
it.
I've never
It's floor.
been
It's
there.
one of the best kept fine dining secrets.
Wow.
Yeah, they were voted.
So-
You know how you guys talk in your podcast about how when it's like voted best restaurant or best fine dining, and
Yeah.
there's so many different publications that do it. It's like not official,
Right.
But they were in one of the big ones around here as best fine dining this past year,
Yeah.
and I think you guys would love it. I'd
Oh,
love
let's
to get-
do it then. Let's
You
go.
would-
to
Yeah.
that.
The four of us should do it. That would be fun.
Yeah.
Because I would love to sit with you guys.
Yeah, me too.
And kind of watch your reaction or the experience
Sure.
to see if we're like, okay, are we picking like really good here? We actually had Lori Tartar on the show.
Yeah.
Like talking about the restaurant, and they have amazing drinks.
Yeah.
They also
Oh, I
have a
can't wait.
tapas restaurant in the front. So if you want just like a tapas style, they have that as well. They do brunch down there now. I mean, it's got to be on your
I want the
list.
whole experience.
I would
You guys-
love to
you would
hear a
appreciate it.
podcast review on it.
Yes.
So would I.
Oh, we'll definitely do it.
And I recommend. I would love to go with you guys, but whether we do or we don't, we should plan on it for sure.
Let's do it.
But they do. It's a 4 or 5 course meal, and then they give you options like, do you want the cheese board up front? And this reminds me of your show too, because when you were at the one place recently where you got some appetizers,
Alinea.
yeah, and then they're like the server was like,
this is
was it?
Prada.
No, not Alinea. That
This
was
is
a really
Prada.
high end one. Prada was the one.
Yeah, where she was like, "Are you guys still on
You
it?"
guys still eating? That's how I am. We're like,
We're just
I
getting
am
started,
I'm
dude.
just working my body into being ready to eat.
I'm stretching the stomach.
We eat a lot. It blows people's mind when
Yeah.
they see how much food we actually
But
eat.
that's what it's like because they're like, there's a cheese board option. Like, yes. So now they know we
Yes.
want that. But they do like a cheese board with different jellies and weird
Nice.
things that mix together. And then they do an optional wine pairing, which of course we do. So they bring you a
We
different
do
wine.
everything. Let's just
different
put it
wine.
that way.
Yeah.
Different wine for the board, different wine for the app, different wine for the salad,
That's
different
how it-
wine for the
yes.
meal. And he
Yeah.
sits down, he'll lean down
Service
and tell
is
you,
amazing.
take it. You guys would appreciate it more than
Oh,
we
we're
do.
in.
Yeah.
Because they
We
walk
have
you
to
through
go.
it.
You
It
have
is so
to.
good. And this, you also mentioned the places where I can't remember if it was you, Maria, or you, Denny, that mentioned places where you had a term for it, like just trust the chef. Don't even look at the menu.
That's how these really high end. Some of the best restaurants in the world. We've been very fortunate to go to
Yes.
some killer places.
I know.
And when we were in Chicago, we went to Alinea and Next. These two restaurants were the two best meals of my life. We had them in a 3-day span.
Yeah, it
and
was
this,
the best meal of my life just from listening to
dude,
it.
you go in and you just trust them. There's no substitutions. There's no, and it's
There's so many
amazing.
elements to it. It's all the senses. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's the seeing it first of all, the presentation. It's the smell of it. It's the textures, the touch.
Yeah.
It's the sounds that are probably going around. I mean,
Yes.
it's just everything. The lighting, everything that they've. It's
Curated.
It's so amazing, like to see the
Alinea is an
environment.
experience.
But you know what's interesting is Friday, this was a huge thing at our restaurant because it was super busy. I mean, we were totally slammed.
Is this where you did the beer tasting?
Friday was
Friday
the
you
beer
did
tasting.
the Italian
Yes.
beer tasting.
But we had a few tables. I mean, it was packed. Like we had people waiting an hour. And there was a table of 6 people and all of them wanted modifications. And we had already told our servers, if it's really busy, we're probably not going to be able to do modifications.
Sure.
And anyway, it was just our kitchen almost stopped. It was, and we really had a conversation about it. Like
We're
we
gonna
need
have to
to
cut down
revisit.
on that.
Yeah, we
Trust
need
our
to
chefs.
trust our chef.
We have one of the best chefs in Orlando. He went to culinary school. He went and studied under Michelin star chefs.
Yeah.
This guy's the man.
This is Entree the Giant.
Entree the Giant,
Giant.
Jason Wolf.
Yeah.
This guy's awesome. He's one of my best friends, and he runs my kitchen, and he's super talented. So we made a menu that showcases his talents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when the customers come in and we're slammed, and they start, I want this, but add this, take away this, do this, and now you're changing the integrity of the dish. And if you don't like it, I mean, it's pretty much your
Order
fault.
something else.
And I
But-
think
I totally
you
get it.
And you have enough confidence in your chef and the dishes that you make to know that this is how it is. And that's how fine dining is, though. You don't
Right.
go and get to ask for special things. No. I mean, I guess if, you have a food
minor
allergy,
thing,
or
that's
Right.
different.
That's
but
different.
Yeah. but
we're gonna
come on.
discourage
You want
it
to
for
add
sure.
extra chicken? Sure.
Yeah.
We'll add some extra
Right.
chicken.
Right.
But don't take away 3 ingredients
right.
and add 3 more.
You're not a cook.
You're
You're not a
just-
chef. This
that's called
person's
cooking
a
at
chef.
home.
And
Yeah,
even,
cook at home.
even Alinea, on their website, it says if you have an aversion, like if you just don't like mushrooms, too bad. But if you have an allergy, tell us 72 hours ahead of time.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
And they'll try to make it work.
Yeah.
It's that.
Yeah.
But I think that's where you guys are sort of riding the line between a local little mom and pop restaurant and like a fine dining experience. Where, and I like that you're leaning into the latter because
we're changing our image for sure.
I love that because it's always been amazing. But I feel like just back to what we're saying real quick about the other place that I learned where I know they have a steak. Everything is so good in this place. I definitely want the steak. And he's like, no, you really want, I'm going to mispronounce the foie gras.
Foie gras.
And I'm like, I don't know what that is. I don't want that. So I got the steak and she got that. And I regretted every second of it. So that's, that's like the next level where it's like, we'll tell you what to eat.
Yeah, we just listen to them.
We're in a major transition now with the restaurant.
Yeah.
And it all comes down to the way the world is right now. The way the world is, food is costing us more than it ever has.
We hear it.
Labor's costing us more than it ever has.
Yeah.
Packaging's costing. So we have to raise our prices, sadly.
Of course.
But to do that, we have to raise the experience.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So starting May 4th, we're literally.
May the 4th be with you.
May the 4th better be with us.
wow.
We're going
Did
through
that on
changes.
purpose?
We didn't actually, but
I love that. We're definitely going to use that in our promos.
But actually, one thing that we decided to do that we haven't told anybody in the media.
news.
Yeah, so
Exclusive.
this is the exclusive. Do you want to break the news?
Go ahead.
So we're going to go 18 and up. We're not going to do slices anymore. We're not going to
We're
have.
cutting ties with the school across the
Yeah.
street. Really. We really are.
Yeah.
Can I just say,
Who have
you're
supported me
saying-
for 13
You are
years.
speaking our love
saying
language,
your
baby.
restaurant, you have to be 18 and up to go
To
in there.
walk in the door.
I will go twice as much.
Because what happens is the kids from across the street come and they take up a table and get a slice of pizza and they're loud, they're rude. We're
They
elevating.
don't tip our servers.
Yeah, we're going to be
Yeah,
changing
no.
It's not a fast
our
food
menu.
place. No.
We're going to make the menu. We've got some really cool new items coming, and we're redoing. And Restaurant Impossible remodeled our restaurant in 2015. Everybody loves it, but we're going to remodel the whole thing again. It's been 7 years.
long
It's
time.
time to.
Yeah.
It's time to change it.
I love
So
it.
we're going to upgrade the inside. We're going to upgrade the menu, and we're going to upgrade the experience by getting rid of. Anyone that's not 18. People are drinking in there and spending money. We don't want kids in there running around.
Of course.
Yeah.
You know,
I
if
totally
you're with your
get it.
parents,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I don't want 4 16-year-olds in there sharing a pizza and messing things up.
Yeah, I totally get it.
So just now, is that something legality wise?
That's
I'm
what
sure you've looked into that.
He says it's perfectly
You can
legal.
refuse service to anyone. I mean, we sell alcohol, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we don't. It's 18 and up. That's it.
Yeah.
You know.
I love it. I love it. I mean, I truly think that you'll get more business from that.
I think
'Cause
so,
there's
too.
nothing more than ruins my day than if I am enjoying my meal and somebody's carrying on. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Or won't
And
take their
there's a-
kid out or something. It's like, oh,
I mean, we just got a review yesterday.
Yeah,
the
just
lady said,
yesterday.
I went to this restaurant and the food was fantastic, top-notch food, but there was a table of 16-year-olds that were arm wrestling or something, and I was like, oh my God, I'm going to kill these kids.
Yeah.
yeah.
You know, so and it was a tough decision to make because the school is across the street.
Sure.
We've been neighbors for a long, long time.
But why can't they take stuff to go? It's going
Take it to go, or
If
you know, they
love
just
it.
disrespect our restaurant.
Yeah.
There was a track and field meet a couple days ago, and this was on Friday night. We're busy, and their parents are parking their cars in my parking lot and then going across the street, taking up my spots. So you know, we don't need that. People got
And our servers are so stressed because a table, you know, of six boys that are 16, you know, harassing one server who's already shy.
Yeah.
And then they
No.
don't tip her and they're running her crazy and they're like, you know, I want this, I want that, I want another refill. And we have to jump in, you know, and just
Yeah.
stand up for our
So it's-
server.
we got to do what's best for the business.
I don't
That's
even think.
right.
I mean, I appreciate the description and I guess the explanation, but I feel like you don't. That is just to me. It sounds like he's.
It sounds like a great business to
Well, it's- it does, but all
we
jokes
have to do
aside-
it.
All jokes aside, it does sound like
Yeah.
leveling up the experience
Oh,
because
100%.
I'm going to tell you, as someone, it doesn't have to be an age thing. For me, it is. Empty nester, no kids. When we go out to eat, I don't want to do like we will joke and say they'll say, and preference on seating. I'm like not near kids. It's
Yeah,
not
we
to
always
be-
say
and-
that.
Well, yeah.
I'm
we
the
have to
same
level
way.
up.
I'm
Yeah.
the
We
same
were
way.
Tornatore's Pizzeria since 2010 to 2000. We dropped the name Pizzeria
I
about a
noticed
year and a
this.
half ago.
Yep.
Yep.
And now I sell thousands of slices of pizza.
Sure.
Thousands of them. It's
really good
and
pizza.
we're going to stop selling slices of pizza.
Yeah.
So anyone wants a pizza, they can
Buy
get a
the
small
whole
pizza.
thing.
Right. And that's going to eliminate, you know, people coming in for just a slice. And
Yeah.
which, it's going to cost me money. But at the end of the day,
I don't think it will long term.
I think that it's
Yeah.
going to attract more people that are going to want to come in because what Jason Wolf's putting out of that kitchen. People
That's what I mean by
want,
riding the line.
Yes.
You're like fine dining and the mom and pop.
So
you know what I
we're
mean? You gotta
jumping in.
move it all.
We're going in the deep end now, and you know if you don't go all the way, it's not going to work.
That's
so
right.
we're cutting off pizzeria, and we'll still
And
have
there's
pizza.
there's only 40 seats.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so I think we have to be selective and
Sure.
And we also, every time we, tell somebody to come to you guys, we say, call and make a reservation because you're going to be waiting.
At
if
nighttime,
not.
you need a reservation
Definitely.
And
Yeah.
not to get into it because I really don't want to get into it because I really like all of these people that when we came to that event and there was like an extra person and I'm like, I'm never that guy. I was
No.
so embarrassed.
Oh, it's fine.
I was dying in there.
That- yeah.
And you
even
guys are talking to
remember.
me and I'm like, oh no.
We had like a single person show
Yeah,
up.
I'm like-
And we're like,
What was it? A date night event
It was like
thing?
a date night.
it was
We had a-
Patricio. I'm like, where's your date, buddy?
you
this
just
is
threw
a
him under the
couples
bus.
thing.
He's probably listening.
Whatever, Patricio.
He is amazing.
It worked out.
He's
Yeah.
awesome and we love him. But yeah, that part of it, I was like, I just wanted
Yeah.
to die because you guys are talking to me. I'm like, you're talking to Sheldon. I am over prepared. I follow the rules. I'm not the person. I'm not responsible for this.
We made it work.
You
But
did.
talking
You really
about
did.
that, are you guys going to do any more of those type of events where it's the
Yes.
couples only? Because
Yes.
That was great.
we will definitely be on
We're
board. with
definitely
that.
looking into doing some more Denny and Maria events. We could do wine dinners now with the two Psalms. We could do couples nights for fun. So we've got a
Yeah.
bunch of ideas floating around.
there's a lot more. We just need to find the time.
Yeah, where does the time
Basically,
come from?
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and right now we're doing about 3 charcuterie classes a month. We
Yeah.
can do 4. I think one month we did 5. You know, every weekend of the
so
month.
we've got the
Plus
classes
we
got
did-
so popular.
Now, you guys, at one
We're getting ready
time
to
were
do level
doing it.
2.
You did it in another location, the
Yeah.
cottage. Are you planning on doing that again, or are you going to keep it in the in store?
We like the space the cottage provided us, but they don't have a kitchen, and that was
That's
just
hard.
That's hard.
incredibly
And the
difficult.
experience was good for the guests, but we were running ragged to carry everything we need. I'm talking
Water
everything we
and
need has to be
everything.
brought there.
Oh, wow.
And there's no kitchen, so it was like, ugh.
Yeah.
So we
keep it.
rather
Lot
keep
more
it
work.
smaller and
Yeah.
more intimate, you know, and just do it that way.
We've had so many students that graduated now, they're dying for something else. So next month we're going to start doing the level 2 classes, which
Okay.
is going to be you have to pass level 1 to get to level 2.
Yes.
So we're going to invite back all the level 1 people, and it's going to be a whole nother experience.
Oh, that's amazing.
We're gonna
Okay.
make cheese in class.
We're all going to make
Oh my
cheese. We're going to eat the
gosh.
cheese fresh made. We're going to do a balsamic vinegar tasting where you're taking vinegars that are $50 a drop and tasting them and stuff like that.
Wine pairings, pickling of vegetables, all kinds
my
of
gosh.
stuff.
You know, so it's not going to be just us making charcuterie again like the last class, but we're going to bring a meat slicer in there and cut some really high-end stuff right off the slice, and everyone's going to try it.
Oh, that's amazing.
As a
Okay,
side
I love
note,
this.
that sounds amazing.
Hungry.
And with our song, we're going to be doing amazing wines in the class.
Yes.
Yes.
We're
Oh
gonna
my
be
gosh.
living over there soon. Move closer. As we're wrapping up, I did want to mention too. We love the duck that for the charcuterie, and we accidentally got the wild boar last time, and it was amazing. I never would have tried it, but
You got to open your mind to all the animals.
Because Denny had to run over there and grab my stuff.
Oh, you
I grabbed you
They
the.
were filming.
I'm an idiot.
But it's okay.
it was amazing.
It was an
at first
accidental
I was so
find.
disappointed, and then we started eating it. I was like, "This is amazing." So
Nice.
accidental,
Good
See
find.
what happens? That's right. But and just to mention too, I have a couple restaurants on my list because of listening to the podcast.
So do I.
Let 'em know we sent you.
Well,
we
for
definitely
sure.
will. So
Let 'em
Bites
know.
and Bubbles has actually been on my list for a long time.
Yeah, but after hearing it,
But after hearing it, I'm like, yes, and I've been wanting to sit up top for the view.
You'll
and
love
the
it.
Experience.
The owner's
So-
a great friend of ours. Let them know we sent you, please.
oh,
Okay.
absolutely will for sure.
And Taste of Chengdu also is one of our favorites in
Yes,
Florida.
that's the Thai restaurant.
No,
It's
it's-
Chengdu. It's
Chengdu.
it's sorry, that's a
a
region
dish.
in Sichuan region
Okay.
of China.
okay.
Yeah,
That's
so
one of my
it's
favorite
Chinese.
restaurants in
That's
the
your
world.
one
It's
of
in
your
Baldwin
favorites.
Park.
That's right.
Oh, okay.
Excellent place.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
for the record, it's pecan, by the way, not pecan.
Damn.
I say pecan. I say pecan. Thank you.
I don't know what it is. Thank you.
Well, guys,
Yeah.
we are so looking forward to just all the things that are going to come. I mean,
We're looking forward to the
Thank
chef's
you.
table with you guys.
you know that
Yes.
we're big supporters. You know, we
Thank
love
you.
you're one of our
And
favorites.
same.
One of our,
Likewise.
one of our three favorite restaurants
Ever.
Ever.
Anywhere.
Wow.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Thank you.
And it's
Yeah.
not just
And it's
because
not
I've
just-
known Denny for a long time.
I've
That
been
was an
feeding your
accident.
family for a long
And
time.
actually,
but-
that was accidental. We didn't even know he had that
I didn't even
restaurant.
know it was your restaurant. It was the Kitchen Killers that you.
Brought
I was
there.
telling Maria the story on
Yeah?
the way here
they,
because
they brought us in, and then when he came out, I'm like,
I know you, dude.
I said, I know. I said, where do you know me from? He said, you used to bartend parties at my house.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? And when you said your dad, I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Real quick, for all the Danjee listeners, I don't know. I'm sure you brought this up in the
Yeah.
past.
Maybe.
Dan's father,
Yeah.
was literally the most likable guy.
He was.
Yeah, I mean,
he
was
loved
a,
everybody.
He was a rock star and a pop guy.
Yeah.
Like I ran a bar for 10 years, and he would walk in, and then the place would go nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, the place would go. Dan
life of
Fox
the
is here. Dan
party.
Fox is here.
He was the life of the party.
And he'd tell him about telling stories, and then he would get a couple drinks in him, and I would hire entertainers. And he would say, "You mind if I take your guitar and go?" And he would get up there,
Get up on stage,
Yeah,
play
and I was like, "This
guitar.
guy,
Wow.
he was just the epitome of the nicest, coolest guy."
Yeah.
So you come
I
from a
love
good
that.
Hometown
Awesome.
Popka guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Love
But
it.
that was a funny story of
It
how
was.
we discovered Tornatores.
Yeah, and honestly, it was ever since we went. I mean, we love the Kitchen Killers too. I don't think we've been back with them. Well, maybe we have once, but we're just now everyone. And when people tell me of an Italian,
Christy,
my mom,
yeah,
and I'm not gonna,
Dan's
and-
wife.
yes.
Yeah, we brought her, and we bring Jeremy and Mindy in
Yeah.
there. That's like our little thing now.
And just like you
Yes.
said, Denny, I don't want to diss anyone. We never do. But I will say, when people tell me their favorite Italian restaurant here, I'm like, no.
yeah, no.
Take this down and get back to me. And
Yep.
every time they're like, oh my God. So you guys are
Thank you.
So
Thank you
I
so
even have
much.
like some of the people at work, and they're like, I just can't find a good red sauce, and I'm like,
Oh,
why not?
But you
I'm
know
gonna
how you
bring
hype up a
something.
restaurant sometimes and you're
I
afraid
get the
you-
frozen and take it, and they're like, oh my God.
Oh, we
you know how
love
you're
that.
afraid you hyped it too much,
And then
now
they
they're-
might not like
I'm
it.
never concerned about that. When they come over
Never.
there.
that's a
Never,
good feeling
never.
we have when we go to work because we can stand behind our product. I mean,
Yeah.
our restaurant's been there for 13 years.
Yeah,
I've tinkered it and perfected it.
Sure.
To where when I tell a customer, "Oh, this is going to be great," I know it's going to be great.
Yeah.
So it makes it a lot easier than like
And
I hope this is good.
I don't have the restaurant experience, the background.
sure.
But I know that it's a full-time job for Denny and the chef to keep the quality high,
Yeah.
to keep the consistency, to make sure everybody in the kitchen is doing the same thing. And it's an everyday thing.
Sure.
It's
Yeah.
not like, oh, we have a recipe, let's just do it.
But
no.
I think you bring the customer side of it because you've had the experience with trying so many different foods from different cultures and different tastes, and you know the experience that you want to have. So that's something the element you're bringing in.
Maria brings
is
a lot
what
to the
is the
table.
experience the overall from beginning when I walk in the door to the moment I leave? What's the experience going to be like?
And we
Yeah,
felt that. Like I've always
Yeah.
loved the restaurant since we've been there. But like Angie said, we've felt that. Like
The
when we
shift in
come
it.
in, you're how you doing, and you're all dressed up, and it just feels a little more upscale
People
than it used
see,
to.
and people
Yeah.
have told me a million times. And what Maria brings to the table at Tornatore is her marketing for one, obviously.
Yeah, sure.
But two, she's not going to take no shit.
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
what I mean? So she's almost the bad cop.
yeah, I'm the bad cop at the
A
restaurant.
little bit. Like our employees, they're not getting nothing by on her.
But I also don't let customers be rude to our servers.
No one's
Love
going to
that.
bully us, and her knowledge of food,
Yeah.
she's not going to touch. We're in a relationship, so at the end of the night, we go home.
Yeah.
If something wasn't right, we're going to talk about it, and she's
Yeah.
going to tell me we have to fix this.
Having
Yeah.
that feedback from that level of experience from you eating all over the world
Yes.
too, I could see you guys at home going, yeah, that's not, you gotta. And as a customer and a fan of you guys, I
Yeah.
love that because that's bringing you. You're not going to keep making a dish that you think is good, but
Right.
you
Right.
haven't gotten
Yeah.
any feedback from.
And you're probably like if I'm in a restaurant and I hear somebody bitching about stuff, I will be one of the ones that stands up for the server if they're being
Oh,
extra.
for
Oh,
sure.
yeah.
I'll be
Me
like,
too.
no, honey, come over to my table.
You can't control who
Yeah.
comes
Just
in a
leave them,
restaurant, so
Like,
there's
you always
scammers.
Sure.
You always have people that are going to be assholes. I'm sorry. They're
Yeah.
just
It's true.
They're never happy no matter what
Some
you
people
do.
go out looking for a free meal all the time.
Sure.
Yeah. So, we don't need you.
But
Take it
having
somewhere
that
else.
having that pushback is nice because it's like not here,
Right.
not here.
And I do it professionally.
Of course,
But I'm pretty assertive.
of course.
You smile after
Yes.
you say it.
That's the best way to do it, though.
Exactly.
That's okay.
Yeah.
though.
I would say
I
the Bishopmore
appreciate that.
kids are afraid of Maria.
Yeah.
She scares those kids.
But you guys stay tuned because we're gonna have so many changes. It's gonna look and feel
Yes.
like a whole other restaurant. The
We're going to actually
menu-
close dine-in for a few weeks
Yeah.
and remodel.
Well,
Okay.
We're just going to do
Well,
to-go and delivery for a couple weeks.
And pretty much
Okay.
every Friday, we're gonna try to have a free tasting of beer or wine, probably wines.
or cheeses or something.
Cheeses.
Now, are you going to do just Italian wines? Or are you going
No.
to local vendors?
We're worldwide.
Yeah.
Craft beers, maybe
Yes.
from local. 'Cause
We've already started
we can
Ivanhoe.
connect you with a couple brewers.
Good to know.
Absolutely.
Yes. Okay.
Absolutely. We'd
yeah,
love
we
that.
can. That's a great point.
Because we
Yeah.
have
Please
one
do.
that's coming local in Apopka.
Yeah.
Hopefully within the next
Good
year.
to know. Yeah, that would be
Yeah, I
fantastic.
love craft beer.
Yeah, I do too, and I never used to like beer, but I actually like craft beer. It's weird.
Yeah.
me
For
too.
the sommelier, we actually had to learn about beer, spirits, ciders,
Sake.
All of it.
Yeah, it's not just wine.
I did hear the one where you were learning about the sake, and you're like, it's just not just hot wine.
No,
Right.
it's,
Things,
you've
yeah.
got to know. Like to pass
Wow.
that test, it was 90% wine, but there was 10%
Yeah.
it was beer, sake, bourbon.
That's
whiskey.
interesting to know.
Whiskeys,
It's like
everything.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
everything. Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
Sorry, guys, we're talkers. You're trying to wrap it up.
And that's okay. Well, hey, before we do,
I
what's
know.
your
I'm
favorite?
looking at the time. I'm like, okay, an hour, 7 minutes. Okay,
No, we're
that's okay.
fine.
Still, we're
3
good.
hours later.
I know. I'm watching it.
We're all talkers, but before we wrap up, what's your favorite kind of food now, Denny?
Oh my god, I love a lot of Asian cuisine now.
What
the
do you love
Szechuan
specifically?
stuff, the stuff from Taste of Chengdu. It's like a Szechuan Chinese, but
Yeah.
if it's done right, okay. And I love Thai food now.
He like craves meat.
I get like
it's
hot.
a restaurant on
I eat
meat.
hot now.
Oh yeah, I know. I
Wow.
heard that.
I
you're-
started out with like this, but now like I like that fire.
So you know what we're thinking about doing for Wing Day this year? And I can't believe I'm going to say this now because I'm still thinking about it. But do you ever watch the Hot Ones YouTube channel?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
We're thinking about doing the Hot Ones challenge for that episode. It's the hottest stuff. Have you seen it?
I haven't.
She doesn't know what that
You
is.
gotta
I know
show
it
her.
is.
They have celebrities on, like big name celebrities, and this started from just some guy and his friends or his family doing this little show, and now they've got
It's brutal.
the number one top celebrities that come on. They eat 8 wings. It starts from just regular hot sauce and goes all the way up to the hottest hot sauce there
Oh
is.
my goodness.
But you know what I would
They
like
only
to
have to
do?
take one bite.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what I would like to do with that? I'm sure there's a lot of local hot sauces. I would like to do it with local people in Florida.
That'd be as long as it's on the Scoville.
Yeah, it's
scale.
got to get that
It's
heat.
got to get on the
Yeah.
Because I've seen so many people do that challenge and quit at number 4
Yeah.
or 5. They're like,
Yeah.
"You're crazy."
That sounds like fun.
Oh,
Yeah.
and that would be so fun.
I
but-
think Maria would probably
But
win
what?
that.
That's what I'm leading to.
I volunteered Denny.
No
It would
way.
be fun to have you both on that
Yeah.
show.
She would go farther than me.
We all got to make it through.
Yeah,
all the way.
let's do
All the
it.
way.
Let's plan on it. You heard it here first. The
All right,
Hot
I'll
Ones
do it.
challenge.
Happen.
We're gonna do a local Hot Ones challenge. We should start looking for hot sauces now.
We'll
I
keep
think
an
that
eye
would
out
be
for
fun.
you too.
Yeah.
That'd be
yeah.
awesome.
Cold beer.
Yeah.
Cold
Hot
beer
wings.
And milk. Gotta have milk.
Most of people have the milk ready for when it starts
Yes.
getting out of control. But they start doing laps around the table.
It's
some of them,
painful.
because they're sweating and they're turning
Wow.
red.
You have to show Maria that.
I have
I will.
to see
I
it.
will.
She could see. It's like some of the best interviews with celebrities that you've seen, though. Because
Wow.
once that heat starts kicking in, delirium starts kicking in. And
Seriously.
you start answering stuff and saying stuff about your childhood and stuff that you shouldn't even be talking about.
And that would
okay?
be the fun of it, to have some questions
Hilarious.
lined up and kind of ask each other questions throughout, because
All
the
right.
host eats them too. And so
Oh
it's
my
like,
gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's watch that later.
yeah, it's great. Well, thank you guys so much. This has
Our
been
pleasure.
so fun.
Yes.
Thank you for having us.
Yes,
We'll have you guys on soon.
Yeah.
Oh, we'd love it. We would love
Yeah.
it.
Well, you know what? Well, let's go to the chef's table and then we'll have you
Yes,
guys
I
on
was
to
gonna
talk
say.
about it
We
together. We'll
definitely
review it
should do
together.
that.
Oh, that
That's
would
what
be
we'll do. Let's go there to eat, and then when we review it, we'll have you guys on.
Oh my God.
to review it with
If
us.
we
I
get
love
to go to
it.
Chef's Table soon as a result of this conversation, this is the best interview ever.
Well, thank you guys so much once again.
Yes.
And thank you, listeners, for tuning in. Make sure to hit subscribe when you go to the channel. Dan even posted something because
On
it's
how to
hard to
subscribe.
find the subscribe
is.
button on the podcast app.
Yeah.
So I'm like, even I can't find where the subscribe button is.
Yeah, so I have a little thing on that, but also wanted to mention for the first time, and finally after 132 episodes, we have finally started a Patreon. So if you don't know what Patreon is, it means
Yes.
you can help support the show if you want. So go to patreon.com/Fine and Danjee, or just go to our website, fineanddanjee.com. That's DANJEE.
It's weird.
There'll be a link there where you can help support the show. I think we have like $1, $3, $5 if you want to help support the show. We really appreciate
Yes.
it very much. And as always, remember, at the end of the day,
It's all fine and Danjee.
I love it. That's super cute. That's a cute
You guys are good.